It is. We got 2 minutes.
It keeps going back. Smarter than I thought.
Tom talking about we don't have enough energy to the city for electric cars.
Yeah.
There was a report from one of the colleges that has exactly what I said,
What's that?
that we don't have the power.
Yeah.
And then he said,
There's just enough for me.
yeah. And then they came up with recommendations. And guess what? First in the county has been doing every one of those recommendations for 20 years.
Really?
Yep.
Is Jen serious?
No. Yes, I am. I'm so serious. Jason's like, okay, boy. I gotta say,
Oh,
okay.
sorry. I thought you were handing it to me.
What time is it actually?
6:59.
6:59.
Way off.
Yeah, do it all over again. We want it on 24-hour clock.
I never remember pens, so keep them.
I always keep one. There was one here.
This, the orange one.
Over the years I've been talking about this stuff, I've been vindicated this much.
You're on a roll.
I say,
It's like, everything's coming up O'Callahan.
right? It is.
I predicted that balloon 10 years ago. Yeah. Well, it's probably,
That's the funny part about it, because that's what I said would happen, something along those lines.
yeah.
High altitude atmosphere.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the February 14th, Happy Valentine's Day, Tenino City Council work session. That's right. Everybody, please take a seat. Thank you. Pull up my agenda. Jan, did you get that vacuum for Valentine's Day that you asked for? He didn't even give you that?
Flowers.
Just flowers, and you hate flowers. Oh, man. It's sad. Anybody else got any good Valentine's stories? Just a bunch of heartbreak?
We've got some Chehalis chocolate mints in the shape of a heart.
Oh, very nice.
Nice bag of them.
Can't go wrong with Chehalis mints. Let's see.
Nothing exciting for Valentine's Day.
Nothing exciting for Rachel for Valentine's Day?
We have to be
We're stuck here.
in a meeting.
James didn't. What did James get you for Valentine's Day?
Only if we get the work done. I got flowers.
You got flowers? That's nice.
No Valentine's. No Valentine's. My 8-year-old. And a saggy plug from my son.
Yeah, we did ours the other day. We got sage, little chocolates and whatnot. The 14th, I do not see the agenda printed on the. Hey, Jen.
Yes, sir.
I've got the meetings pulled up and I don't see the agenda attached to the website.
Well, I pulled it up.
Everybody else got it.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. It is a you problem. Meetings, right? You go right here.
You're on the wrong page.
3:14, 7 p.m. council meeting. Blank.
Why is yours blank?
It's Jen's fault.
Is it working now? Well, mine doesn't have to be every once in a while. Make sure that I have to go a different way.
Tonight, huh?
I have to go out and just Google city. Did you click on that?
There you go.
I'm here. City council activities.
No,
No?
over.
City council meeting?
Yeah.
City council meeting. Okay, there we go. All right. It is. All right. Awesome. Tonight on the work session, we have discussion of RV ordinance, and that is the sole topic. that is published. You know, we, of course, can talk about all kinds of other things. But I will pull up the RV ordinance. We talked about this briefly at the previous meeting, and we've kept this up here to hear more from staff and council and the public. Again, this is an ordinance of the City of Tenino, Washington, adding chapter recreational vehicles and travel trailer temporary occupancy to the Tenino Municipal Code. Recreational vehicle or travel trailer located in a residential lot within the City of Tenino. Beneficial residents who may need family or friends. This is extending the period of time. Intention of the City Council is hereby adjourned. Chapter numbered. So I was led to believe that we would have staff here tonight to talk about any thoughts or concerns with the ordinance. Was Rainey? Where? Oh, you're not in uniform. Last time I saw you had a badge hanging out. My bad. This is a recreational vehicle, travel trailer located on a residential lot of record, may be occupied for a time period of 120 days, subject to compliance with standards that set forth. Vehicle park. So since we read this last time, I'll just ask if there's any staff that would like to come up and engage with council to discuss any thoughts on the ordinance. Will you make sure that your mic is turned on and speak into it, please?
There we go.
Give your name and title.
All right, Rainey Duran, Code Enforcement Building Department. So I've been asked a few times what my thoughts were on the ordinance, and I know I brought it up a while back at at one of the Planning Commission meetings as well, where I understand the concept of bringing in RVs for family members to be able to occupy for a multitude of reasons, but what ends up happening, and my fear, is that you have certain lots that just can't accommodate an RV. So are we looking at a situation where it's okay for one neighbor, but the neighbor to the side can't? So is there some discriminatory law that would be involved in that?
Simply because the land won't handle it.
Right.
You know, just because the guy next door can have one because his property can handle it, doesn't mean you have to look at that other property exactly the same way and punish this guy that can because this guy can't.
Right. Okay, so another issue I'd like to address is the setback requirements. Obviously, we have setbacks and the zonings for these purposes of the health, safety, and welfare of the community for if there's a fire to one of these RVs. And if that thing doesn't have the proper setbacks, now you could turn into where you have an RV fire plus a structural fire on the lot that the RV sits on and quite possibly the lot next door to that RV. So that's an issue that I have concerns with, which I'm sure we could finagle some wording into the ordinance to allow for those zoning setbacks for that camper. Typically, most jurisdictions do a 6-month occupancy on an RV if you're developing the lot. If you have a building permit and you're physically developing on the lot, they'll allow for an RV occupancy during that phase. I've not found any other jurisdictions that allow for any kind of a 6-month stay, even with permits, outside of that scope of doing new construction to a lot. Other concerns we have, I don't know if anybody remembers here, not too long ago, Garfield and State Street, we had an RV fire out there. It was due to an electrical hookup. That would be another concern I would want to show as well. If we're going to have RVs parking for a long period of time, we need to have the adequate power supplied to that RV. A lot of these new RVs come with 50 amp services, 40 amp services. The 30 amp service is kind of like the old 20 amp service. So these lots would have to upgrade to get an attachment for a 30, 40, or 50 amp service for that RV. So we know we got adequate power going to that RV. Also water, check valves. We want to have some sort of a backflow preventer on that hose going from the house to the RV to prevent any contamination going back into the drinking water of the house. I know there was some concerns also about dumping into the cleanouts on the property, that added flow of sewage going into the sewer plant. How much more a week in the gallons would that take up? I don't have the answer on that. I was hoping Troy would be here tonight to answer that question. And then also look at what kind of aspect is that going to bring to the community as far as looks go. When you've got somebody sitting on a piece of property for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, the garbage collection is going to go up more for that property. There's, potential of garbage not being picked up on that property. We've dealt with it on a few other properties already here in town where we have people habitating RVs, and getting people to comply with the ordinances that are already on the books is a hard feat to do. We accomplish it through determination and a lot of visits, but I look at it, it's going to take, I see a lot more code enforcement time dealing with more RVs on private properties with habitation going. So to what extent does the city see the time being taken away from the code enforcement to be able to go after other nuisances other than just these RVs parked on private properties? What we have already states 15 days consecutive, 15 days away. It's hard enough to get people just to do that. Now you have somebody who has a permit, are we gonna be looking at possible habitation where they're there now? Have they set up residency? Is it gonna be easy to just say your permit's expired, you gotta leave? Or can they pull, hey, no, I've set up residency here. You allowed me to stay for 120 days, so I now claim residency here. So are we going to be falling into more of an eviction process versus an abatement notice? Is a concern that I have as well.
And so if it is like, just say 4 months, how are you going to be able to track that? Like, what is your process? What would be your process?
The permits would be the way to track it. We have it in the permit log, so we know, okay, so-and-so is coming up for expiration on his permit. And it'd be a matter of saying, hey, we'll send them a letter, give them a 7-day or a 10-day notice to let them know that their permit's up for expiration and they're gonna have to vacate the premises with the RV.
My question to everybody here is what instance do you need a 60-day permit unless you're building or remodeling on the property? Why do you need that for family members that are just coming to visit? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Why do we need 60? I think 15 days on, 15 days off is all right. It's good. I am so afraid of the garbage that's going to be coming in here to park on somebody's.
Well, and that was my issue the last meeting that I had too with my incident at my old place. There was drugs and prostitution going in and out of that all day.
Right.
You mentioned that we now allow 15 days on, and it's hard to manage that. There's no permit for those
No.
15.
No.
Do you believe there should be? Would that make that more manageable if
If there was a 15-day permit
yeah,
as well?
Yeah.
Oh, that would make things a lot easier on keeping track of who's who. And because a lot of times now I drive around and I could say, okay, well, there's a new camper that just pulled up on someone's lot. Now in my head, I got to keep track of 15 days. All right, you go to the office, write it down so that it's a reminder
Is
to have to
15
go back in
enough?
15.
Should there is maybe a 30-day permit adequate? Is that a compromise
I
from
could
the
s-
120? Because I could see a need for a permit process.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's just you're doing your best to guess
Right.
when they were there.
Right.
But maybe are we being asked that restriction be upped a little bit? Is 30 days with a permit? Would that be an adequate
30 days
compromise?
with a permit would be a lot more adequate period of time.
Like I could see, like my parents just went down to Phoenix for a month and stayed with my sister. That doesn't seem unreasonable.
Right. And I look at it, you've got Millisylvania Park right up the road. You've got Heritage
Well,
Campground.
yeah, we
right
have
up
an
the
RV
road.
park.
Right, there
down
are
there.
other facilities that could facilitate that longer need
Yeah.
for somebody coming to visit in town, you know? So it's not like we're saying, hey, no, you have to only stay there or there. If we'll give you a 30-day permit, but after that, you've got to facilitate other means if you want to stick, you know, if you want to continue to help out the family in Tenino.
See, the real problem that I have with it is somebody bought that land. Somebody paid to put a house on their land, not
Correct.
city land.
Correct.
And we are telling them now what they can and cannot do on their land. There are certain things like trash, I can understand that. The water, anything on the other side of the meter, that's all their problem.
Correct.
Sewer, that's their problem. All the things that you brought up is the problem of the landowner that's allowing that RV to stay on that property. Whether that person sets up resident on that property, again, that's a private issue. I don't think the city or any government agency has anything to do with that until and only if there's health issues that start to come up on this,
And that's what
or
happens.
illegal activities.
The issue is the health problem. So like, you know, our sewer system is designed for houses with, say, 3 bedrooms, and the amount of waste that people live in there. If you add an additional house, which is what that RV is, onto that sewer system for that lot that is designed to put out so much waste into our system, and all of a sudden they double that. They don't double the amount that they're paying the city, but they're creating double the amount of waste that we are then responsible for. So there are some, you know, there are some considerations that need to be thought about. You can't just, you know, you can't throw down a bunch of, you know, tough sheds on somebody's property and push them, you know, hook them up into the sewer or the water system, because our system is not designed for that.
Well, none of them are. No matter what house you go to, whether it's a gravity system or the system that we have right now, each house is designed for a specific amount of people. If something goes wrong with the system, then it's the person that lives there that has to pay for it.
So-
If they double the amount, the flow that goes in doesn't really add any real cost or work
It does.
or
It
work
does.
to the system.
So by your line of reasoning, you are saying that if somebody owns a piece of property and has a house there, they should be allowed to park as many travel trailers on there as they want and let people live there?
That's what Thurston County has done.
No. That we're talking about Tenino, but just by your line of reasoning, that is their property, they can do whatever they want on it in the city. So John's, you know, you play it out. John's line of reasoning is there should be no restrictions. It's their property. We should not prohibit anyone from parking any travel trailers and allowing people to live on their property.
Yeah.
Okay. Put that in the
No,
newspaper. Put that in the newspaper, Dan.
Now,
Quote him on that, please.
that is, that's fair. That's an extreme, okay? Looking at Tenino history, we do not have people parking their RVs on their property 5, 6 at a time, even 2 at a time with people living in it.
I would
It
ask the
doesn't-
code enforcement officer.
It does not happen.
Do you deal with any instances like that, or what does that world look like?
That world is, it's scattered. It depends on the location. If the property can hold more than one, they'll be there. But even states in
Without
where,
the regulations, it would turn into Ensign Road in Olympia.
It's gonna turn into Ensign Road in Olympia anyway.
No,
because
No,
it's a state.
if we set rules right now, there's no way that's gonna happen.
We-
And
you
that
know,
is life. Like people, yeah, you have to be responsible. I get what you're saying, but that's life, John. Like if you're saying what you're saying, then why do we have a government? We're here to set rules and everything and regulations. We
No, we're not
need
here to
this.
set
Keep the
rules and
commu- to
regulations.
keep the
There are
whole
things that a
community
government is
safe.
supposed to
Exactly.
do.
Keep the whole community safe, not 1 or 2 landowners, but we are here to set regulations to keep the whole community safe.
We are here to do public, police, fire, lights for the streets, sidewalks.
Permits
Everything
for
else.
building, code.
building codes. I mean,
That all got added on.
Zoning-
especially-
Well,
and
but
it
Zoning
got-
it's still there
regulations.
regardless.
It got even worse once we went to, what the heck is that called? The Growth Management Act. then it really got worse. Look at the rules that we have to follow now. A lot of it is set by the state, and we didn't have any choice but to accept it. I've gotten on my soapbox on that several different times when the state came and
But it's
forced
still
us to
there,
sign
it's still
things.
the law regardless, John.
I understand that. Just because it's there doesn't mean that we have to agree with it. Doesn't mean that we have to enforce that type of stuff either. We don't have the kind of problem that this is suggesting that we do have. We're not a large enough city to have the kind of problems that
Do
you're
we not have
suggesting
those
here.
problems because we keep an eye on it? Or do we not have those problems for some other reason?
I believe we don't have those problems because people move to this part of the county because they can do things, and because of the reasons that they moved down here, they like the slower form. They like
Sure.
less government.
Some of our
They
neighboring
like-
cities are dying to have code enforcement capabilities so that they can restrict individuals from parking RVs anywhere they want. And some of our very close neighboring communities, they have problems that we're talking about preventing, that we work on, and they don't have the ability to enforce them. We do keep a clean community. We do keep a community that has standards and expectations and has health regulations and codes that are enforced. It's kind of like, the broken window theory, where if you keep things clean, it keeps crime to a minimum. It keeps, bad problems to a minimum. And if you just take a laissez-faire attitude towards code enforcement, that's when problems start.
That's
And
exactly-
see,
that
we
just
don't
like
have a
them.
problem, like Wayne just said, because we keep up on it.
Yep.
Like with my incident, we had Chief Swain, who would always
Yeah,
park.
you know about this more than anybody.
He would always park his patrol car right on the other side of the street and just sit there and watch them all day long. And finally, they had enough of it, where they sold the house and moved out of town out on Tilley Road.
But we don't have that problem now.
No, it's because we
And
keep
we're
up
fine,
on it.
Because we keep up on it. And we have to have permits.
See,
And one of
I
my
can see-
bills that I wanted to say a little something is maybe, if it passes, will be new rules on the climate change and our different planning process and what we have to do for water and different things, so.
See, I can see having rules and regulations where somebody can't like all the way up Sussex. Once you get past the grocery store, there isn't a spot on either side of the street where you can't permanently park an RV. You can park them on either side of the street with plenty of room. I can understand that because that's city property, okay?
Right.
But once you start talking about private property that people paid their hard-earned money for, and are paying all their taxes on, to go this one extra step for something that may or may not happen.
It happens regularly.
So you're gonna punish, you're gonna put a restriction on everybody for something that a few people do.
It's
There's
not-
there's a lot of other different types of things that are on the laws, health issues that can be used in these type of situations, that we don't have to put further restrictions on somebody because that's what they wanna do. They put their RV on there and they have a family member living there.
See, it's not a punishment, because look at the other side of it. If somebody comes along and just wants to park like an old broken down trailer right there, even though it has electricity, that's gonna deminimize the neighbor's property value. So are we gonna punish them too?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I've worked at that side of the
Who
street.
wants to buy a house that has an old broken down trailer right next to it?
Knowing that trailer is gonna be gone eventually because it's broken down to start with, by the picture that you're giving me, that's not gonna be there very long
So
because it's broken down.
We've got 8 minutes left of the work session.
Right.
We want to be respectful of Rainey's time.
Yeah, but
Is there any other advice or thoughts from a code enforcement perspective that you'd like to share with the council on the concept of increasing the length of time that people are allowed to stay in RVs on private property?
I would say let's not rush to just say let's pass this. I would say let's definitely do some more homework on it. I'm looking at it from the safety aspect of it, and also what's already on the ordinances that we have to enforce. Under our development standards, 10840.040, all residential uses, definition of a residential use, the living facility that includes permanent provisions for living, sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation. Now, that includes single-family units attached to accessory dwelling units, individual manufactured homes, and modular homes when sited on a permanent foundation in accordance with the Tenino Building Code. Does not include mobile homes, individual manufactured home, and modular homes when not sited on a permanent foundation, and recreational vehicles, park trailers, and travel trailers.
So by law, these cannot be used
It
as
is not part of the
residences.
building standards or residential use standards here in the city of Tenino,
Thank you.
which is why we don't allow for long-term occupation of campers. We
Okay.
allow that 15 days away. Come back for 15 days, but the trailer has to go for those 15 days. It can't just say, oh, we're gonna park it here, stay for 15 days, and take off for 15 days, and then come back. It's gotta be a full circle.
And this is different than somebody that owns one and keeps it
Correct.
stored.
You can park and store a camper on your property, but you
just
can't
can't leave it.
habitate it.
Thank you. Chief, do you have any thoughts or
Thank you,
input since
everybody.
you're here?
I think Ray summed it up
Okay.
pretty well.
All right. So again, council, it's not on the agenda anywhere other than the work session. Like Mr. Duran said, this is something we can chew on for a while, or pass, or let die, or modify. Maybe staff wants to take back and work on it some more. Nobody's pushing anything any one way. All right.
Thank you.
I will invite George up for the George report, since that is like the first 7 things on our reports. George, how are you? It's been a minute.
I'm doing
Happy
great. Thank you,
Valentine's
Mayor.
Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to report on the Chamber and the EDC and Steady tonight. The Chamber, tomorrow we have our lunch program. We're going to have an Ag Park update by Aslan Mead. And then also Southeast Fire and EMS is going to give a report too on planning for safety for fire. And then the Oregon Trail Days, we're planning that right now. We have the first Monday of every month, we have committee meetings, so we'd like to invite the citizens, anybody interested in being on that committee. And that's going to be July 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, the 4th weekend. We are also working on the Tenino Spring Arts Market, and that's going to take place March 24th, 25th, and 26th, again in downtown at the Kodiak Room. And this last 2 years, that's brought a lot of people to town, so we want to make sure all of our merchants are aware of that as well. And the EDC, they meet next week as a board, and I think you normally give a report on the EDC. And then South Thurston Economic Development Initiative, that next meeting is this Friday. It will be in Rainier. And we've asked all of our partners to come with their top 3 goals. Then also, what are the activities for tourism they're planning out for the rest of the year, so we can create a calendar for all the communities to be aware of. And then I believe Elaine's going to give an Arts Commission update.
Go ahead.
Arts Committees has got their Metal Arts Banner Contest, the rules and regulations all set. It goes online tomorrow for opening and submission of the projects. The deadline for submissions will be March 15th. They will be reviewed for the commission and the jury panel March 17th through the 30th. The final selection will be made on March 31, and the winning artist will be notified in April 3 through 6. The metal fabrication process begins April 7th, and the banner should be installed June 28th, by June 28th.
Nice. Those look nice.
So the contest goes out to Tenino and all of Washington, hopefully with a Tenino connection of some type.
Good
Is there
job.
anything else you
Excellent.
wanted to
You
add,
did good. You
George?
covered it all.
Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, George. All right. Can the South Thurston Fire, you got 3 minutes to give your update. This is separate from your presentation.
Do you want us to just do it all at one time?
This is when you come up and be like, hey, this is what we've been working on, blah, 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 blah.
Hopefully I don't sound like that.
No, you can only be so lucky.
I mean, I'm already having to wear glasses now for
Oh,
my things,
man.
So, I did not get these to you in time, but if you could pass those.
Absolutely, and should we make sure the microphone's on too?
Yep, green lights on.
The folks that
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so for our updates, we're in grant season and stuff like that for us. So we're applying for another AFG grant and so forth. And so as we were putting that data together, it was the right time to put this data that I'm submitting to you guys for review, just so you see what we've done in the last 3 years, our call volume and so forth. So there's several pages here. The first page is our overall call volume over the last 3 years. And so like for 2020, it didn't get added up there, but we ran like 2,032 calls last year for 2022. And so you can kind of see that across the place, but this is over the last 3 years. The second page goes into wildfires or structure fires and so forth, vehicle fires that we've had throughout our jurisdiction. Then it goes on into more of the EMS calls, so motor vehicles, crashes, BLS calls, and you'll see down there the BLS calls is our main impact, of course, to us. And you'll see a big, vast difference between 2020 and 2022. Halfway through 2021 is when we brought on our new ambulance program from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And that really started off on a project to help our neighbors around us. And then we got sucked into the core, Olympia, Tumwater, and Lacey, and our program really took off. And now with the private ambulances kind of figuring out where they really sit and hired, it's kind of balancing back off. We've also changed one other thing in the county, and that's where we're not asking for BLS to be dispatched to initial calls with the core, really those especially that don't transport their own. And so it's holding the BLS transports now in reserve until they can really do a patient size up and request the BLS unit when they really need it versus always having one, and then we're stacking them up because there's not enough to go around. So with those balances, this number for 2023 probably will come down, and that's the reason it would come down is because we're not going into the core as much. The following last page there is mutual aid given and received, and so that's just us helping our neighbors and our neighbors helping us. So that's the packet I submitted to you for review, just to get you caught up with where we're at. The other, I don't know how much more time I got.
Nope, you're up. But you've got another spot on the agenda.
Okay, perfect.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We'll close the work session and call to order the February 14th, 2023 Tenino City Council meeting. Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have an agenda before us.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. That brings us to the minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to the consent calendar. This is a consent calendar consisting of January 25th, 2023 through February 14th, 2023. Payroll EFTs in the amount of $50,116.11. Claims checks number 31163 through 31219, and EFTs in the amount of $193,572.86 for a grand total of $243,688.97 with no liquor or cannabis license requests. Is there any discussion on the consent calendar?
Move approval.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. That brings us to our first presentation, which is a surprise presentation for Valentine's Day.
Oh, my God.
You have to sing for us.
Is this on the agenda?
Oh.
Oh, wait for pictures.
Wait a minute.
Aw.
I love it.
We didn't have an amended agenda.
Oh, man. Good job, James.
Good job.
We don't want her husband to find out.
Wait, is this recorded?
Did you say Dave Watterson? All right. Thanks, James. Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, we haven't done that yet.
Big, yeah. All right. That brings us to our next
Wayne, Wayne. Go ahead.
That, when you finished reading the amount of the EFTs and all that stuff, and you said no,
Okay. That wasn't on here. So, okay. Oh, it is on there. All
it's
right.
on mine.
So we missed on the I missed on the consent calendar, approving the liquor cannabis license for the Landmark Tavern. So I will entertain a motion to approve the liquor license for the Landmark Tavern.
moved.
So entertained?
It's been moved and seconded. Is there anyone that would like to discuss? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Sorry, I was distracted trying to coordinate the Valentine's thing. I was all excited about it.
Thank you.
That brings us to our presentation from Thurston Fire regarding First Due.
All right, so for our presentation tonight, firefighter Landon Harris is going to give that to you all. It's part of our pre-fire planning that we're doing now. It's a similar program that Lacey's been using for the last couple of years. Our neighbors around us are all on it at the same time we are, so we're kind of learning it still. But it's going to help us when we respond to emergencies and how to look at the buildings and so forth and access things. And so I'll turn it over to Landon. She can turn, when she gets that turned on, the power line should be there.
Yeah, I don't see, I mean, you're on the Wi-Fi.
It's doing things.
There we go.
All right.
Watch TV.
This is not your
Watch sports.
presentation. Sorry to burst your bubble.
You mean balloon?
Chinese.
That's weird. Well, I'm gonna watch it on my, I'm gonna watch it over here, mine.
I was going to say, isn't it on the agenda?
It's on mine.
Yeah, I was going to say it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You probably know your laptop better. On mine, it shows the little thing here, it lets me connect to something. Does this do it?
Sometimes they cancel a bunch of that stuff. No. Comcast and everything, it's cost me $160 a month. That's ridiculous.
PowerPoint's on the main spreadsheet that she has. So if you guys will bring that up and then you get the first two, there it is.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll just let you,
Just go down the street.
All right, thank you.
Perfect. Wayne, don't you dare go to sleep.
I'm good.
I understand.
All right, good evening. Sorry about that. Again, my name is Landon Harris. I'm with South Thurston Fire here in Tenino. So yeah, First Due. So essentially what this program is it's gives us the ability to replace kind of the previous way pre-fire planning was done, where everything is on paper and binders that you have to go through. individually update each one across different vehicles that we have in our fleet, where this is all in one program located essentially via the cloud or on the internet. So it's a single access point for all of our pre-fire planning data. So when I talk about pre-fire planning or pre-incident planning, it's essentially a process where we go through in person, walk through different structures, businesses, occupancies that we deem could possibly be an extra hazard. So especially things like schools, the market here in town, large structures where they have a complex layout with them or different hazardous materials especially. So with this program, everything being stored on the cloud via the internet allows our membership to access it via their personal devices as well through our notification process for any incidents, as well as our apparatus via the mobile data terminals, which we'll have a picture here in a moment. We have a computer screen located in all of our units where we can pull this data through live. Our mutual aid partners as well that have this program. So like Chief Shaffron mentioned earlier, Lacey's been using this program for some years now. So any data that they input on their end, we would also have access to should we respond to their area. And so we have that ability to share the information should we have to go out to other districts or if others have to come into ours. They all have access to it. And just to be clear on everything, this is not an inspection. This is only for informational purposes. So as we're going through, we're not going to be doing any write-ups, anything like that if we find any issues. So if we do see anything, we might mention it, but we're not inspectors. We'll just inform you if we see anything like that. So why are we doing this? Again, to compile this information to allow for our product and our responses to be better for the community. If we know what we're going into before we get there, everything will be a much better process. It can also alleviate any access issues. So with the flyers that Chief Shaffron just passed out, this also mentions Knox boxes. I believe there's one on the front of the City Hall building for one, as well there's already several existing throughout the district as well. Allows the business owners or the property owners to store keys for the entrances of the structure within those boxes that only the fire district has a key that opens that box. So therefore, allows us to prevent any unneeded damage by having specific keys for that structure available to us. This program will also allow us to input contact information for 24-hour contacts for the building owner usually or the building manager. Also help us minimize the risk by knowing the layout of the structure like I'd already discussed. We can also set expirations for this important information as well, as far as the contacts, especially for apartment buildings where they're contracted by a company and that person could change from time to time. So we can set a regular schedule where it'll have us go back and look at that information, contact that business or company again to make sure that information is current, as well as with the Knox box keys as well. There's no, if the property owner were to change their locks for any reason and they were not to contact us, then we wouldn't have any other way of knowing unless we were to regularly check up on that. So that allows us to set expiration dates, which will notify us when those come up as well. So what information are we collecting? Structure layouts, like I mentioned earlier, these can be ever changing as well. So it's good for us to set those expiration dates where we can walk through the structure again after so often to make sure that nothing's changed and updating it accordingly. It'll give us utility locations, water shutoff, gas shutoff, any other utilities as well. Security and alarm panels, locations, and if the occupancy would like to give us those codes to silence the alarms that are within the structure, we would have those available as well. We go through and take photos with the property owner's consent as well, so we have an idea of what we're showing up to as well. And like I said, it gives us an opportunity to go through buildings where we normally wouldn't, especially for our newer members. They can access this information, and without physically going to the location, they can look at all this as well without having to take the time to go out. Like I mentioned before, we have the data terminals located in each apparatus, which are the top two photos here. That is our first out fire engine, as well as our first out ambulance that have those screens in them, as well as on the bottom there shows just a quick photo of what it would look like on our devices as well. On the device, it is app-based on the data terminals, as well as, if I can get it pulled up here on the laptop later, it can be accessed on desktop as well. So as far as our functional use of it, if we were to receive a call, that incident would be received, for one, through our app on our devices. We'll get a notification which will give out the, as you can see on there, just a quick description of the call as well as the address. The crew will go en route to the call. The incident will automatically populate to those screens in the apparatus where it'll give all the information right there, and it's tied to each address individually. So essentially, what are we going to need from not just yourselves, but the property owners and occupancies, is that begin preparing any of the documentation, anything that they're willing to give, especially the 24-hour emergency contacts, as well as their phone numbers. Floor plans and layouts, if they're available, those are very helpful. Knox boxes, we're going to be pushing for that here soon. I believe that there's already some things in the works for that as well. And then have those extra keys available to put in the Knox box. Alarm systems present, as well as their locations, any utility information that you may have. And other than that, once that information is gathered, we can begin scheduling those walkthroughs and start getting the process going. We already have started going to some of the schools as well as the market in town, a couple of churches, to try to get this process going and start to see how it works. So we are in the process already. We already have begun doing it in some of these locations. So if I can get it pulled up here, I will also give you a live view of what the program looks like at this time. It should be hidden, correct?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, so coming in the main screen here, it's showing us a map. This is also pretty similar to what it looked like on the app as well, on the personal devices. So, correct. All right, so the market is one we've already done prior to this. So this just gives just a general overview, aerial view of the structure, as well as some of the symbols that we're able to tie to it. Just to give you an idea, this is a little different on here, bear with me. There we are. All right, so right now we're in the responder view. So this is what each of our members would see when they were to pull this product open. So going into each one of the, we'll go into the Market Fresh for now. All right, there we are. Not a perfect view of exactly what we would see, but we'll get the point here. So along with the integration of this, the company would go through and contact our local dispatch center as well as tie in information with the county assessor's office. So a lot of this information is also pre-input into the program. So as far as giving out the square footage, year built, all that information, that's already given to us by the program. Also gives general information, just a quick, they call these tiles up there. It'll tell us if there's any hazards local on the premises, any fences that could affect any of our operations, quick building height, as well as there's Knox box, alarm panel, different stairwells present, as well as fire department connections, things of that nature. This is especially helpful for our incoming mutual aid partners because they have these photos as well if they've never been to the location, where they can pull up photos that we've taken of all sides of the structure. Also listed in here is the contact information for the building manager, as well as the information we previously discussed. This gives us all those symbols, as well as so show us where the location is, not that just that it's present. It splits it up as well by floors. So going up in the second floor on the back side of the structure shows the location of the stairwells, any electrical panels, as well as any hazards, such as any fall risks as well. Sorry, anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, so go back to where it showed the green dots on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we have two-story buildings and stuff, you're gonna be able to go in there and click on it for us as the incident commander and stuff and see the different flooring and what the layout is. And so that can help us direct our crews when they're going in to fight fire, if they need to, different things like that. You'll see like over on the strip mall where Don Juan's is, it shows 3 different occupancies in there right now in that strip mall. That helps us when we get called to something to see the difference of where we're really going, and we can isolate this program now to each of their own individual sections of that building and so forth. So this is way new to us. It's going to take us light years, and now it's really the learning curve of digging into it because it can go way deeper. And so that's our 2023 program for our members, is to really get into this, get going into all the businesses, and get this data put in one spot for us. Any questions on this part of the program?
The only thing I want to, I looked up Knox box,
Yes.
and they come in all different prices.
Yep. Correct.
Right up to $459, but some of them are $50 and 60, and what's the difference?
Well, it's all about the size and what you're really looking for. So like some of those lesser ones might be just the ones for the gate, a small
They wouldn't
thing.
go on the back of
They
the
would
building.
not. The ones that we're looking at for all the buildings that like are, like the one on this building,
Yeah.
they're around the $400 mark,
Yeah,
right?
I saw that.
And so that's the average price, unfortunately. And so that's where we've started that dialogue with the chambers about trying to find a grant or grant within the chamber to help offset some of these costs.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I want to know.
Yes, unfortunately, yeah. Yeah, it's a requirement for all residential private gates that go in. When someone puts a mechanical, Thurston County has that as a requirement for those. Now, if people put their own gates up and they don't go through the permitting process, right, but there he is. We don't get those things.
You can just do anything.
I'm not trying to hurt you there, John, but yeah.
When the person wants it for their home.
They can buy them too. Absolutely, we have some.
I understand, but do you have to have the $450?
No, you could probably look at some of the other ones and figure that out, but we do have some people who have called us. This was a couple of years ago, so they're just in the system, I couldn't tell you, but they wanted us to be able to get into their mom and dad,
Oh, yeah.
right? And so that's where you would see these. And some of them are like the realtor door hanger ones, can go that route sometimes. And so those are the more reasonable ones that you would see.
The Knox box has a key that these guys will
Right,
have to
I
get in it.
understand, yeah.
The one on, you can do the residential one where you could even just go to Home Depot and get a lock on your front of your house, and you can have a code, and you can tell dispatch what the code
the
is
code
to
is
get
so
into
they
your
can-
house. That's a much cheaper way to do your house. You don't want to do that in a commercial building, but you could, your house, to get in your house,
Yeah, I
it's
was
1, 2, 3, 4, and dispatch will tell these guys when they're on the way. That's the way to do it
Yeah,
at your
with-
house.
For the house,
With
okay.
this system now, instead of dispatch having the main information, we're able to have it in our own hands, but we're also gonna share it with them through their process. And that way it's double duty, so we can check it ourselves if we need to, if there's a problem. So that's what we're doing. That's our presentation to you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Lock yourself out.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Whoa. Back on agenda. Thank you, gentlemen. That brings us to public comments. If there is anyone in the audience who would like to provide public comment, now is your opportunity to do so. You'll be given 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address. Go ahead, sir. Yeah, there should be a signature sheet. Signature sheet.
My hearing, what?
There should be a signature sheet there for you to sign in on.
There's nothing here?
Oh, somebody stole it. Police!
No.
Oh, you got a pen?
Yeah, is there a cop in the house? Oh,
If you could just state your name and
Yeah.
address for the
Yeah, I
record, then,
understand.
okay.
okay. My name
Somebody-
is Walt Taylor. I've been a resident of Tenino since 1982. That makes it 39 years. And I'm pleased to say I've really enjoyed living here. I've lived in 3 different states, as far as I'm concerned. I moved my family and raised 4 children in this town. And your baseball fields are awesome. You need an attaboy. Those baseball fields are outstanding.
Thank you.
All my kids and my grandkids are playing on them now, so I've got 7 grandchildren now. Can't believe it. Moved here, just got married, and 4 children and 7 grandchildren now, so. Okay, my issue tonight, I know I got 3 minutes. My issue tonight is my grievance, or my concern, is the safety of our roads in this town. Specifically, where I drive every day and have been driving for 39 years. It's the end of Park Avenue, and it turns into Crowder Road, that corner, and there's a coffee stand there. Anybody familiar with that? And it goes down, there's a dip, and then, was it Baker's Towing lives there? Everybody knows Randy? Okay. Those potholes have been there for 39 years. And they keep filling them up, and they keep washing out. And I've hit them several times. And it's getting to be a really problem, especially when it rains. They fill up with water, and you can't see the holes. I've knocked out several wheels. I've messed up my suspension several times because I used to work, have to get up at 4:30 in the morning and drive 100 miles to work every day. And I did that for 31 years, so. You know, when you're up at 4:30 in the morning and you're in a rush to get to work, it's 50 miles away, and bam, you hit it, there goes a tire, or you knock your alignment out. So they do their best, whoever's filling the potholes with sand and gravel, and then they put cold patch in it once in a while, but it washes out. My question is, the $1,000,000 question is, whose responsibility is it to maintain that section of road? Is that Tenino's city limits, or is that Thurston County's responsibility?
Tenino.
Is it Tenino?
Yes, sir.
Right, well, there's a borderline. You know, when you hit Crowder, there used to be railroad tracks right there where they took them out, and they patched that up, and they did a nice job. But that whole area there is pretty dangerous, so. I don't know if it fits into the budget. Is there a budget problem in this town? I mean, okay, my question to you all is, we pay one of the highest gas taxes in the United States of America. Do we not? We're ranked, what is it, 3rd, 4th in gas taxes? Something like that. 3rd? 3rd, okay, thank you. Kind of know. Where's that money going?
Good question.
I mean, we're out here in rural Thurston County, we're out here in the country. You know, we're kind of like off the radar in a lot of situations, but other than that, I just can't, it astounds me that we pay so much gas taxes. And, I mean, does Tenino get a portion of that money?
Not really.
Not really.
No, I mean, there.
Why is that?
Yeah,
Why is that?
there's no short answer,
Is it all
unfortunately.
okay,
Yeah, there's
is
no
it all
short
going
answer.
To Olympia?
Well, it goes to the state, and then there's competitive grant processes for like DOT, and we put in for them, and sometimes we qualify, sometimes we get the money, sometimes we don't get the money. We're fighting for Park Street now, and we came in like 8th in the last grant, competitive grant process. We got to repave Park Street, and we're going after it again now to repave Park
So
Street.
you have to submit, so,
Yeah,
I'm not,
there's
you're in government, I'm not.
yeah, there's no like there's no like just bucket of money we can go to get. It's not easy. I'll tell you that. Roads are the biggest problem that we have.
Well, I mean, it's nationwide.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been back east and seen their roads like that.
yeah. And then you do
gotta drive a
get
tank.
you do get $1 million to repave a road, and it goes like 2 blocks.
I was gonna say, it goes about a block and a half.
Yeah.
Well,
So we're working on it.
so what I'm saying is that the labor cost is
All of the above. Talk the engineer requirements, the stormwater
Well,
requirements.
what I'm saying is it just keeps kicking the can down the road. And
Yeah.
it just continues year after year. and
Yeah, you could sit up here and do that too. We say the same things that you do.
I mean, I retired from the state of Washington. Okay, so I did 31 years in the state. I
Yeah.
did 4 years in the military. I've done construction work. So, I get a feeling for
Yeah, 3 minutes is up.
budgets and politics and everything gets involved, and it's a lot of red tape. It's just a road, and it's called blacktop.
One would think.
It's a safety, but here's
Yes.
the thing. Can you not say to them it's a safety issue?
We do.
That's part of the application process. So it's.
How they get ranked.
Is anybody in here riding motorcycles?
Mm-hmm.
Street?
Not on that road.
Can you imagine hitting one of those?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody,
Yeah.
okay.
No, it's on the
Well,
it's on the top of our list.
I apologize. I went
But
over
it
my
is,
3
no,
minutes.
it's fine. It's on the top
It's
of our
just
list.
amazing that we pay so much in gas taxes.
Yeah.
And sales tax. And
We drive that road
tax,
too.
Tax. And then it comes to getting something fixed. Oh, well, we don't have.
We
money.
fix it, but we repair it. To fix it is that's the big desire, is to actually tear it up, reconstruct it,
Well,
make it to where the water's not going to destroy it every year.
Yeah.
Because just patching it doesn't do anything.
Well,
so
that's what I'm saying.
so we try to patch
Well, that whole-
until we
that-
can find more money
that
to
whole
actually
Park
fix it.
Avenue all the way down here.
Yeah, and that whole section of town
Just shot.
it makes no sense why the roads are like this. So it's
Well,
You
I mean-
preach, Mr. Taylor, you're preaching to the choir. Yes.
Well,
We know.
I still have to drive on that road every day.
Yeah.
And I'm dodging potholes.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I'm concerned about not only myself but other people.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to dodge cars just coming here because they don't want to hit the potholes, so they're coming into my lane, And it's like, okay,
Just please know that your
crazy.
city is working on it.
Yeah.
I've got
doing
another
our best.
issue, and it's been a pet peeve of mine for years.
Hell, go
is,
for it.
Litter bug.
Yeah.
That corner, somebody that lives out in that area definitely does not have curbside refuse garbage.
That same area.
They're using that as a garbage dump. Thurston County comes in and cleans it up, and then they come in and they weed whack it, right, to keep the.
We do that. That's all us.
On
Thurston,
Carter
no,
Road?
on right in that area.
Carter
Yeah.
Road.
If you where the railroad tracks used to be,
Where the city limits in?
right where the railroad tracks are.
Well, around that corner, I mean,
Yeah.
it's getting cleaned up, and then a month later,
Oh yeah.
we're
A
talking.
month later, you can fill up 5 garbage bags.
Does anybody have a security camera they want to voluntarily put in a tree, maybe? You have any security cameras in the police station?
All right.
Anyways.
Thank
no,
you,
it's
sir.
really- Yeah,
I appreciate your comments.
yeah, all right, what the roads, it's,
You're right. You're absolutely right.
maybe we can get them fixed. Okay, I'm out of here, thank
We're
you.
working on it. Thanks for stopping by.
This is the first time I've been here. So.
Well, come on every second and fourth Tuesday.
There you go.
Old business, new business, stone carver lease amendment.
Volunteer
I'll give Troy your name.
Put my back brace on the shoulder.
This amendment will extend the.
Sure, it's all right.
All right. This amendment will extend the current one.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm into this now, by the way. And hey, the baseball and the children's playground equipment. Oh, my granddaughter loves it. Stuff's looking good.
All right. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. This amendment will extend. That guy was awesome.
Sweet guy.
They extend the current 1-year lease to 5 years. Recommended action is review and motion to approve Stone Carver lease amendment. Before we take any action, I'd like to ask if any representatives from the Tenino Stone Carvers would like to come talk about why this is important and what's going on.
Yes, sir. Good evening, folks. I'm Bill Lanker, and I'm the new director of the Tenino Stone Carvers Guild. And this man needs no introduction, but Keith Phillips. So we've made a bunch of progress recently, and we've become a legal entity. Myrna Orsini helped us develop a business plan, and it got rave reviews from the park people. And we're formalizing relations with Park as our fiscal agent. And knocking out insurance and getting our shed lease and this lease for Sussex formalized, mainly so we can accept grant money. Keith and Dan and I went up to the Capitol a couple of times in the last few weeks and met with Representative Urbano and Orcutt, and we're hoping to get Senator Braun's blessing as well for our endeavor. But a lot of the grants don't want to award money to somebody with just a year lease. They want to make sure you're going to be around for a while. So they recommended 5 to 10, but 5 is perfect for us if we have your support. So we humbly request that. But yeah, we're almost a fully functioning entity once we iron out these last little bits with insurance and develop our memo of understanding. And it'll be exciting to have a streamlined operation where we just get to carve and not push pencils.
Awesome.
With approval.
Thank you. We have an amended lease. So we've approved this lease in a previous meeting for 1 year, and we were 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. We've had review by legal, and it's been run by legal. They're fine with it. The amendment has been approved by legal. So what you have before us is a previously accepted lease with the amendment changing it from 1 to 5 years. We have a motion to approve the lease. Do we have a second? We have a second. Do we have any discussion? Any comments for the gentleman in aprons? Hearing no. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you for expanding. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to say that we were mistaken for butchers on Capitol Hill. So we got the lobbyists' attention.
They were what? Taken for
They were
butchers?
mistaken for butchers, so they got a lot of attention.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I think Keith would like to say a couple words.
Keith, would
too.
you like to say a few words?
Well, I don't have too much to say. I don't have too much to say, but I am just quite overwhelmed with the progress of our group. We have 6 carvers, and all do various different types of work. And I started here in about '87, and I wanted so much to be a legal entity like we are now, and be a group producing Tenino sandstone products.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you to both of you. Here, no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Your lease is approved.
Thank you. Good luck with your grants.
Thank you.
Next up, commercial brokers agreement. City of Tenino would enter into agreements with Kidder Matthews to assist the city with structuring the ground lease rates for the Ag Park. We are asking council review and make a motion to approve the agreement with Kidder Matthews. Jen, do you have any comments?
I do not. I just heard.
Okay.
Move approval.
It has been moved to approve the agreement with Kidder Matthews. Do we have any? Do we have a second? We have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next on the agenda, under old business, Thurston County Heritage Grant Acceptance. Okay. What we have before us, we have been awarded the grant that we have requested for $4,261 from the Thurston County Heritage Grant Program in support of downtown interpretive signs. Council has to accept this grant. We have a motion to accept the grant.
Second.
A
Second.
letter of acceptance. We have a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? I want to thank Miss Jessica Reeves Rush for writing that grant this year. We're very appreciative. That brings us to reports. Next report is library. Linda is not here. Museum. Jessica is not with us. Keep going. There is no Civil Service Commission grant or report. Okay. Facade Improvement Grant Review Committee.
No report.
Public Safety. Chief of Police.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you. A couple things to report. Jen and I have been working on this a little bit today, and prior to that, came into an agreement with the superintendent of schools that they're going to allow us access to their pumps so we can fuel all city vehicles, which it's my understanding that will relieve us of the tax burden that was brought up earlier, which is about 50 cents a gallon. The department's fuel usage alone was in excess of $18,000. We've got it broken down to a dollar figure, not a gallon figure, because the price changes. But by my estimations, that's roughly 6,500 gallons of fuel just that the department's using that we're going to be saving the fuel tax on because they're going into exempt vehicles. Spoke with Public Works today with the supervisor over there, and I'm getting all their cards together. Jen and I are going to draft up an interlocal agreement, run that through the process, and present it to the school district and get that program going. I had a meeting today, and they've already got our cards in the works in anticipation that we hammer out an ILA. I'd like to thank Rainey for hard work that he's done on all the code enforcement issues, particularly a pretty shocking and troubling recent issue we have with a house in the city limits being inhabited by two adults. Both are seeking help now. We're estimating that it's a six-figure abatement job and that the house is going to be red tagged, and it's either at least a six-figure abatement, if not a complete tear down. We're still in the process with the attorneys figuring out where we're going to go with the property owner. But we removed 9 live cats, 10 dead cats, and 2 dead dogs from inside of a residence.
Pretty bad.
So we've got reports that we're working on now. It's going to be another few weeks before Rainey's got his report done, and we have our report done, and that's going to be routed to health services and adult protective services, and we'll take it from there. It's unknown at this point if any criminal investigation is going to start because of this, but we'll keep you posted.
Yeah, thank you both for doing that. This is a great example of, why government exists.
Yes.
And why we have codes. And why we have, sometimes if you don't have standards and, some people are left to their own devices, they will end up destroying everything around them and ruin our neighborhood. And the neighborhood there is very appreciative of the work that the police department, code enforcement department did.
And I can't say it enough. I'd like to say it again publicly and to city leadership, is that Rainey did such a great job on that entire case. It was weeks and weeks and weeks, and months worth of work that he put into that. And
they are complex cases.
Yeah.
They say, and Rainey, maybe Rainey can tell us more about it, but the work that went in and just having to notify all the neighbors of everything, and they're dealing with civil commitments. They're dealing with taking people into custody against their will. Dealing with wrestling people out of houses that are, health codes, building codes. It's
the good thing is that there was a whole family in need of help. There are people in the right place now, and they're getting the help that they need.
Yes.
And the city's addressing the property
appropriately. I think, Rainey and I have talked about it, and the biggest thing is we're trying to accelerate the abatement process, because the house sitting vacant, I don't need to be an expert in health issues to know that it can't sit long, it can't sit the way it is now. It's a health hazard just sitting there. And I'm not trying to be an alarmist. It's, in my entire career, it's the worst I've ever seen.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
all right.
Do you want to piggyback your report off that, Rainey?
I think Chief kind of handled it pretty well as far as, we don't want to get too involved into the case because it's still an open investigation. It's not all open to public record yet, so we don't want to throw out too much information. But no, I think everything went well. Law enforcement, code enforcement worked really well together and bring it to a resolution of what needed to be done. Yeah, a lot of legwork goes into a situation like this because there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of phone calls, a lot of investigation has to go prior to just showing up. So again, I'd like to throw my thanks out to the PD for their assistance as well.
Awesome.
All right.
Great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Council, Mr. Mayor.
Clerk Treasurer, during your report, would you like to introduce our newest employee?
Okay, first thing, please come up, Courtney. This is Courtney Sheldon. She's our new utility clerk. So when you come into City Hall, you'll get to meet her. She's catching on quick. She's handling water bills. Tomorrow she's going to learn late notices. It's very exciting stuff. So we're happy to have her on board, and she's the new face. Oh, sorry, Rona, for not having my microphone on. I was just introducing Courtney. I apologize. City Hall, what's happening there? We're still being audited, meeting weekly with the auditors on that. It's going well. We anticipate being finished by the end of March on that. Quarry pool, quarry house reimbursements are still happening. We're getting close to being done with the quarry house. It'll be done by the end of the month. So we'll be submitting for final reimbursement for that.
2 weeks.
Yeah, it's only 2 weeks, like finish line.
I do think it's very close to
No,
2
really,
weeks.
it really is. Yeah. How long have we been saying 2 weeks?
Yeah.
No. It looks fantastic. It's so exciting. I'm actually working with Jessica right now. We're gonna do a little surprise in there that I'll probably just won't tell anybody about yet, but it's gonna be really cool. We had a big work meeting last week with some gentlemen that Gibson Olson brought down from Seattle. They're pool designers. You can see over here on the wall, probably we forgot some of our stuff up there, but we went over kind of the phase 3 portion of what's going to happen with the pool. As you know, phase 1, we just got our permit. We have a pre-con meeting happening hopefully next week, but probably the week after. They did tell us, Mike Marshall said to me today, the pool will be open by July 4th. I knew you were going to say that. I could read your mind. Phase 3 is something that we're kind of discussing. We focused a lot on what the needs and wants are, specifically creating parking and ADA accessibility in that messy area that involves the pool, the quarry house, as well as the museum. They came up with some really awesome designs and ideas and plans. I think we have a meeting next week to share all that and kind of review what they came up with. Also, some more filtration ideas on how to keep the lake portion cleaner, whether it be adding more waterfalls or, sometimes you see those man-made creeks that actually filter it, but they're kind of like a splash area for kids. So they had so many ideas. Lots of, we have to include showers. It's part of our permitting process. So they're working on a design for the bathroom and a concession stand and all those things. So that's exciting stuff to look forward to. Like the chief said, we're working on an ILA for the school district for using their gas pumps. And we're working on finalizing some financing for the public works Vector truck and the street sweeper. So you guys will have that probably at the next meeting. So. Yeah. Also, big shout out to Rana. She's been awesome. She's working with LNI right now. Somehow we were claiming incorrectly am I supposed to share this? Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah. It had been happening for quite a while, but we were somehow claiming days that weren't actually worked to LNI. So
Standby time.
Standby
had been-
time was
through
being
the-
counted
through
as
the
work
software,
time.
Standby time had been included as work time
Yeah.
over the past few years. So we'd over-reported to LNI. So we'll be getting back, the city itself will be getting back pay from LNI. And there's going to be a few employees that their contributions were over. So we've got to figure those out as too.
Yeah, Rana's been amazing at it, and she's been fine-tooth combing everybody's stuff and spent a lot of time on a lot of phone lines
Rana's
with
our
people.
pinch hitter.
She's getting it. Yeah, it's great. So props to her for that. Anything else that you can think
Any
of?
questions for
Any
the clerk treasurer?
questions? Okay. Thank you.
My report, it's basically, it mirrors Jen's. We've had several meetings with engineers, contractors, several check-ins throughout the week at the quarry house. Like she said, it's getting very close. I think I've shown some of you some previews and pictures, and it looks pretty amazing. Like she said, we should be starting construction on the quarry pool. Bids went out for the ag park, and some contracts have been awarded. We're really excited about that. And I've gone up to the state capitol a few times to help schmooze some of our requests along. And I don't know exactly where those are at right now, but I think the ledge session closes on the Friday?
The policy committees, not fiscal committees. So
Okay.
that's next week, a week from this Friday.
Okay.
So the 24th.
So we've got a couple
Any kind of
requests in.
requests, yeah, and they need to be in that budget and working.
Okay. Okay. So we are hustling on the city's behalf. Be that.
Yeah, there's a parent workshop 1 week from tomorrow at TMS from 6 to 7 with a free dinner too.
Okay. Solid waste.
The litter program has been moved from public roads to solid waste, and it's still being funded, though, by the Department of Ecology. And they're looking to rename it, and they will have all the, if you want to clean a road or adopt a road, they have all the bags, the
Let Walt
hazard.
know.
Huh?
Let Walt know.
Solid waste is working with private property owners to assist them in the disposal when someone has dumped on their property. And before it was the property owner had to clean it up even though they didn't make the mess. So now solid waste is willing to pick it up to help the property owners that did not create the mess. Solid Waste has stopped the mulch program because they could not determine if there would be any toxic or poisonous weeds mixed in, which would spread to private property. So it was a legal thing, more or less. And Dark Container, which had always done the recycle for the styrofoam, they notified them on February 1 that they were closing on February 28th.
Oh, you're kidding. The one over off of Stillwater Boulevard?
Mhm. So they're not too sure what they'll get for recycling on styrofoam. And they hired 2 people for education and outreach, and Republic Service takes over for their solid waste on May 1st.
Thank you, Councilmember Clam. Tenino School Board.
I forgot to mention at the last meeting about the 5th graders participating in a letter writing campaign. So the 5th grade is reaching out to family and friends all over the country to get postcards or letters from other states and other areas. So they've actually collected quite a few. It's been a huge success from what I understand. The girls and the boys wrestling are both headed to state, both the girls and boys. Tonight, the high school boys played at the center for the playoff game, or towards the playoff game, and we did not win tonight, so that was a bummer. But I'm sorry. That was a loser out game. Yep. but we were ahead up until the last 2 minutes. Yeah. Yep. So, but they had a good season. They did really good. I just want to put a reminder again about the PTSA dinner auction at Hillsides Farms. It's coming up on March 11th. The tickets start at $50. So you can go on to the PTSA website and you can purchase your tickets on the link there.
My tickets are less.
Yours are? Oh, man. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Also, just one more quick thing. One more quick thing. I just wanted to bring up that I've been actually really impressed with how they're updating the security on the schools. So you can't actually go into the offices anymore. It's been online for a while now, but you ring the bell and the camera shows who you are, and you can't go in until you state why you're there and who your child is. So not just anyone can walk into the office anymore. Same with the high school.
That's
you can't
good.
just walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to push the button.
Yeah.
So all of our schools in the district have that installed now. So
Excellent.
I think it's pretty cool. I love that feature.
Yeah.
Thank you. TRPC.
TRPC, TPB, basically the same stuff. We elected our officers for the year, and as usual, I was the one that made the motion to accept and retain the people that are in those positions on both boards. The one thing that really stuck out is we had somebody from the federal government come down and talk to us about some of the things that are being funded in the construction fund from the state, not from the state, but from the federal government. And what struck me is that there's hundreds of millions for this, tens of millions for that, but 1.5 million for the recharging stations. That's just doing simple math. That's not going to go not going to go very far. And then when I started asking about how are they going to generate the power, that's when the conversation really went quiet. We don't have at this point the capacity to generate the power that we need for all the cars that are going to be electrified. There was a report in the Thurston County report that we put out every year that 2 years ago, 1% of the population, Thurston County's population, were buying electric cars. That was 2 years ago. Wayne didn't have an electric car. Bunch of people that I know did not have electric cars. Guess what? They have electric cars now. I would venture to say Thurston County alone is in that last 2 year period, is at least at 10% or more of people that have electric cars. I saw my first Mustang electric car, beautiful car, but they're gonna have problems. What's gonna happen with the apartments? There's a brand new apartment in Lacey called The Hub. It's full of young people in there. Some of them have electric cars. How are they gonna charge them? There's a whole lot of different problems that are not being addressed, and $1.5 million out of the construction fund from the federal government is not going to be enough to put charging stations throughout the United States. Never mind just how are they going to be able to handle using those stations for all the cars that are going to be coming up. It's something that no one's really looked at before, and every time I bring this stuff up, it gets real quiet, and it got real quiet again. And this is from the federal people who are working on the federal side that should have had these answers, at least in my opinion. That's what stuck out to me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Linda, legislature.
Well,
It's your time to shine.
let me tell you something. I have news for you guys. I bet nobody in here knew this. There is a bill to make the state of Washington officially the evergreen state. It has not been officially the evergreen state, even though when you come up through Oregon, welcome to the evergreen state. It's not beneficial. That's the biggest thing. Okay. The other thing is this climate, improving the state's climate response through updates of the state's planning framework, I think is going to involve us. It's a county with a population density of at least 100 people per square mile and a population of 200,000, things are gonna change for us because of that. The water system plan's going to change. And that is House Bill 1181, and it is in rules, so it's moving. Then we have the one, parenting minors to improve educational attainment. I thought this was interesting. Allows minors who are parents to receive temporary assistance for needy families that certain requirements are met. And it is in Ways and Means now, so it's moving right along too. That's 5379. 5059, this could really affect us. This is concerning prejudgment interest. Now, whoever's being sued, and if they lose the case, they don't have to start paying until the judgment is there. No, this is gonna roll it back to the time the incident happened.
Wow.
Yeah, so that could really affect us if somebody decided to sue the city of Tenino. So, and that one is in, I didn't put where it is in the process. Oh, Linda, shame on you.
Linda made it up.
It's in Ways and Means, so it's got time.
It's moving.
It's moving, it's in Ways and Means, okay. And this is the one, has to do with carbon sequestration and ecosystem services and the management of public lands. It requires the Department of Ecology to establish a program to provide assistance to any state agency or local government seeking to develop an offset program relating to lands they manage, and that could affect us too. The concerning biosolids, they are wanting to, they're going to put a, just a minute. And I can't pronounce these, I don't know if I'm doing it right or not, but it's certain chemicals, perfluorolacil, and they're resistant to oil, stains, grease, water, as well as their durability, their heat resistance could be a problem. They don't want that in the biosolids, and that could affect us. This one was just introduced, and this has to do with, well, these last three bills have to do with the community sexual violence and the residents. This one was just introduced. This one was just introduced. And this one, they're probably not going to go anywhere. This one had a public hearing today, but I don't know if it's, it has to be out by Friday. So, and I don't know if it'll make it or not. But it's it's just saying, no, this is a different one. These are just saying that we need to know ahead of time, not given 2 days notice of what's happening. We need at least 30 days, if not more. But they're both Republican sponsored. I doubt if they'll go anywhere.
Yeah.
This one is about a voucher pilot program that would help low-income people with rent. That living in manufactured or rental housing in Washington State, and that could help us here. We have people living in the park. That my cousin is one of them that could really use help with her rent, because since it's gone up to $700 a month, so
Okay.
that's my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Godovac. Is there any public comment? I don't see any public left. That brings us to announcements. Does anyone would like to make an announcement?
Okay, I'm going to be up on the Hill on Friday to help with a lot of the fire legislation. I also am going to be presenting an idea that I have to help all the smaller jurisdictions like ours. If you looked at a lot of stuff, a lot of the monies that have been allocated, when we went out for a vote, we were allowed $5 million, and then the prices on everything just skyrocketed. So we need some help. That's why we're looking at the capital facilities for a little bit of help there. My idea is for the state to start setting up separately, kind of like with transportation, a fund that smaller jurisdictions can tap into. There will be restrictions. They have to have a vote of the people for what they thought was going to be the right amount of money, and it has to pass. They can't just say, hey, we need this money, let's go to the state and get it. It's not gonna work that way. After the vote has been passed, the second requirement is like we just had last year, where the prices of everything just skyrocketed, which 25-30% over what anybody thought. So if those two little ones and probably some more fine tweaking along the way, I don't see it happening even this year or next year, maybe in a few years. But we'll have a separate fund for fire and EMS so that we can do these kind of things when bad stuff on an economic basis happens. I've already presented it to Jim Walsh, Representative Walsh. He seems to think it's a good idea, and I'm going to be presenting it to at least 4 or 5 others on Friday.
Thank you, sir. Any further announcements? You should all have an email regarding a reception on Friday. Please check that out and let Jen and I know if you'll be available. And then just as a general reminder, the City Hall does not comment on personnel issues to the media. And I know that the council understands that they do not do that either. If there's whenever you get a media request or anything like that, be sure that you do not respond. The council doesn't get involved in personnel issues, but then from a City Hall perspective, from an administration perspective, we do not comment to the media on any personnel issues either. So just a general FYI for housekeeping.
It's just ingrained in me because we definitely don't, working for the state.
Yes.
Just don't.
No personnel matters.
No.
If Peter doesn't like me, just don't talk to him.
All right, that's it. Meeting adjourned.